What's good, guys? I'm Dave, and in this video I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what I think are the best restaurants in Denver for most types of food. This isn't really about cheap eats or fancy food, it's more restaurants for normal people. I'm a 10-year Yelp elite, and I'm that guy who knows about restaurants before they open. I've also lived in some of the best food cities in the United States for most of my life. After watching this video, whether you're visiting or you're new to town, you'll be able to put together a quick list of restaurants to hit while you're out and about in Denver. Some of these places are more local favorites that you should try out just because you're here, and then others are more local gems that might be hard to find without some really intense Googling. So to save you hours of searching, let's plan out all of your Denver food in one rapid fire video. I'm going to try and go over every genre in 30 seconds or less, so we're going to fly through this thing. No matter what kind of food is your jam, let's find you some good food in Denver. Let's kick this thing off with burgers. The quintessential burger spot in Denver is Cherry Cricket, and it deserves the love. It's reasonably priced, the burgers are super solid, and just everybody comes here when they visit Denver, so it's definitely worth checking out. Other super solid burger spots in the area include Park Burger, and if you're in the suburbs, Crave Real Burgers. There are way too many nearly identical gastropub-like burger spots in Denver, so you won't have a hard time finding a good burger in the city. Next, let's go pizza. Our pizza scene in Denver has dramatically improved in recent years, but I'd recommend two different spots for different reasons: Blue Pan and Pizzeria Locale. Blue Pan is Detroit-style pizza, but that crust is really good and it's among the best in Denver. Pizzeria Locale is more of a quick-serve spot, and after trying it, you'll wish that you had one in your city. If you're a big pizza person like I am, I made a whole video on the best pizza in Denver, and I'll link to that in the description. If you're talking about good sushi in Denver, everybody's going to talk about the dens. Sushi Den and Izakaya Den. These are our $4 sign and $3 sign sushi spots, and they're really, really good. They're both amazing, but pro tip, if you're coming to visit and you know that you're going to be here, try and sign up for one of the sushi making classes at Izakaya Den. The class is super fun, you'll make some friends for a few hours, you actually get a good amount of sushi, and it's definitely worth checking out if you can get it. If you're enjoying this video so far, please give it a like to help more people find good restaurants in Denver. Pretty much everybody loves a solid brunch spot, and we have some really good ones in Denver. There might be one near where you live, but Snooze AM Eatery started here and it's well loved. Another local favorite is Denver Biscuit Company, where you can get food porn worthy breakfast biscuits that are guaranteed to get tons of likes on your Instagram. And if we want to throw in a third, Four Friends Kitchen is also one of my favorites, and they have more southern style breakfast food there. Big warning that the waits can be very long at all of these places, so plan ahead. Near and dear to me, let's talk Korean food. If you want some variety, check out Seoul BBQ in Aurora. It's basically got a menu that's like the Cheesecake Factory of Korean food. When it comes to all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue, we cannot touch anything that you're going to get in New York, San Francisco, or LA. But for Denver, the best Korean barbecue spot is probably Taeji, that has a few different locations. The selection at Taeji will underwhelm if you're coming from the coast, but it is very approachable to non-Koreans, so if you've never had Korean barbecue before, this is about as easy as it gets. Since we're already on an Asian food theme, let's talk dumplings. Mason's Dumpling Shop and Seoul Mandu, both in Aurora, are the two best in the area. Mason's has more modern Chinese-style dumplings, but Seoul Mandu has, as you'd expect, Korean-style dumplings, but they are huge. If you do hit Seoul Mandu, I would get the fried mandu over the steamed, but you do you. Both Mason's and Seoul Mandu are smaller locations that are more takeout spots, but definitely check them out if you're craving dumplings. Let's hop over to barbecue, where we definitely have some pretty solid order-at-the-counter style quick-serve places. When it comes to barbecue in Denver, my two favorites are Post Oak and Roaming Buffalo. Now, these aren't going to compare to something like a Salt Lick or a Pecan Lodge if you're coming from Texas, but these are more quick serve places and you're not going to spend $50 per person. If you find yourself in the north or south suburbs, GQ Barbecue is also super solid. Next, let's talk Mexican food. Even though a lot of people will make jokes about Casa Bonita and people say that Colorado has really good Mexican food, I lived in LA for 15 years and I kind of disagree. I think we do Tex-Mex reasonably well at chains like Chuy's, and then we do fancy Mexican food at places like Sol and Perdita that are pretty okay. A solid Mexican food spot in the city is Adelita's Cocina, but you've had better Mexican food in other cities. While I don't think that we're great at Mexican food in Colorado, Santiago's is the quintessential breakfast burrito in Denver, and that's worth checking out for sure. And I know that this was more of a thing a few years back, but if you're into poke, Poke City is our best chain in the city. If you want to go more local, check out a spot called Turtle Boat. They make really good poke bowls, but personally, I like to eat for volume when it comes to poke, so Poke City is the spot for me. Another big genre, let's go to Italian food, and my personal favorite Italian restaurant in the city, Shells and Sauce. This is a great neighborhood spot with just a cool all-around atmosphere. Seating is pretty close quarters there, but the service is good and the specials are usually always worth taking a look at. For some reason, Shells and Sauce isn't as well known as other Italian spots in the city, but I really think it's one of the best in Denver. Next up, let's talk Chinese food, which is not where Denver shines. That being said, Uncle Zoe's Chinese Kitchen in Aurora is probably my favorite Chinese food spot. This is a solid Chinese food sit-down spot that's much nicer than a hole in the wall, and it's not P.F. Chang's, which would sadly rank among the better Chinese food restaurants in the city, but I think it's pretty good. A lot of people come here for dumplings, but I actually think the regular Chinese food menu is better. If you're looking for dim sum, Star Kitchen in Denver is your best option. It's certainly not as good as stuff that you'd get in LA, New York, and San Francisco, but it's pretty good. Let's talk donuts. While a lot of people would say Voodoo Donuts just because we have them in Denver, I think that there are better donuts to be found in the city. Instead of hitting Voodoo, try out one of the locations for the Donut Club. They have a few locations in Denver. They have those same crazy donuts that you'd find at a Voodoo Donuts, but I think that they actually taste a lot better and the locations are kind of more pleasant to be in. And because they have multiple locations, there's a good chance that you'll be near one when you're hopping around the city. Let's talk ramen. If you do any Googling before you come to Denver, you'll probably come across a spot called Uncle, which really only matters if you care about eating at a place for name and Instagram pictures over flavor and taste. There are better spots in Denver. I actually think Uncle is pretty overpriced. Check out Ajinoya on Colorado. I think that they have some of the best ramen in the city. Next, let's talk desserts. If you're going to come to Denver, you pretty much have to go to Little Man Ice Cream. It's something that every tourist does. It's a good photo op. The waffle cones are amazing, the flavors are good, and they also usually have dairy-free options if you're lactose. If you're into more adventurous, fun desserts, check out the Inventing Room. This is one of those places where they make desserts out of liquid nitrogen and fun stuff like that. I admit that these are both more touristy spots, but if you're here, why not? If you want to grab some boba in Denver, we do have chains like Kung Fu Tea and Happy Lemon, or you can hit my personal local favorite, Tea Street. We've recently started getting good boba in Denver, so while we can't hold our own with cities like LA and New York City, we're pretty good with the second-tier cities in the United States. Now let's talk about some other local favorites that might be worth checking out while you're here, starting with Maria Empanada. They serve exactly what you'd expect. It's beloved in Denver, and there are a bunch of different locations, and the empanadas are super good. Also, I don't know who would ever come to Denver for fish and chips, but GB's Fish and Chips serves up the best in the city. If you're looking for just a really good seafood meal, fish and beer is my personal favorite. We're big on food halls in Denver, and two of my favorites are Avanti and Junction. If you're with a group of indecisive people who can't decide what they want, these are basically glorified food courts with fancier food, so someone will find something that they like. So whether you're a local looking to expand the restaurants that you go to, or you're coming to town to visit, I hope that this video helped you put together a list of spots to hit while you're in town. If you've made it this far, please give this video a like or share it with that friend who you're coming to visit Denver with. Thanks so much for watching and happy dining.